Yo, what's poppin', everybody? I want to welcome y'all back to the No Level Cap podcast. I'd like to introduce everybody to the crew. We got the collector of collectors and Twitch streamer extraordinaire, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
I don't know about that latter part, but it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. I promise you it is. But I'm
Hey,
back.
man, we trying to make something happen. We calling it into being, bro. That's what's gonna go on right here.
Hey,
We
We
got
gonna get there.
the Black Daredevil and the best actor in Austin, Texas, Terrence Flowers. What's going on, man?
Hey man, I'm good. I'm ready to get into this topic tonight. This one, I think this one is gonna be a real good one. Hopefully people will watch it and they'll have something to say. But yeah, I'm doing well tonight. Let's get it.
And lastly, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's poppin', Rakeem?
oh man, I'm here. I'm here to stay. We got four brothers here today. Let's get it popping. Let's do some podcasting. Let's talk about some anime today.
All right,
I thought he was gonna drop some bars there.
No,
I mean, he was close. He was close.
I
was
forgot
like,
the rest.
It's okay. At least we're not on stage.
Done, DeMarco.
It's not a talent show, so I think we all good. I am Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. On the No Level Cap podcast, we talk about all the anime, all the gaming, and none of the bullshit. We back with episode, what is this, 23?
Yes, it is. Jordan
There we go.
number.
That's what I'm trying to hear. No Level Cap, as we know, goes live every Monday. If you prefer the video version, we're on YouTube. If you prefer the audio version, we're on Spotify. And we put up bite-sized clips of our podcast on TikTok. So this week, I wanted to get into something, or actually, Terrence wanted to get into something. He suggested it, and I thought about it. I was like, yeah, we could probably make something happen out of this. This is a discussion that we've kind of gone back and forth with for years now. It's the question of short anime versus long anime, and whether or not the length of an anime series makes it more memorable. I mean, it should be a simple question, but I mean, of course, I and kind of we, as we got into it, made it more complex. I think in the world of anime, as things have developed, we're in a position now, to me, where there's more of a benefit for longer anime. And I know there's some people who would try to fight against that. I'm going to make my points later on in the show. But I think even mediocre longer anime have a better chance of being memorable or being remembered more than memorable, I guess, than all but like the best short anime. So, I mean, like, let's start here. Let's start with some basics. Let's cover some ground stuff. What is your favorite short anime series? Short meaning 26 episodes or less. Rakeem, what's your favorite short anime?
So when it comes to short anime, I thought about it for a little while, and one anime came into my mind because I've always thought about it years and years later, even to this day. The stint I watched, I really enjoyed it. It's Cryed. It's Cryed was an anime that I really enjoyed because it kind of was like that. A lot of us 90s kids loved X-Men. And it, to me, was like watching, was like, this is anime X-Men. It's very similar in context. Yeah, these characters who have these specific powers. They're ostracized from society. You have two different factions that lean into like two different dynamics of that ostracization, confirmation, and rebellion. You have two different protagonists. They have two different lifestyles, and like you see the dichotomy of both. And man, I really, really enjoyed watching that show because it felt unique with the two protagonist approach back then. It's probably a lot of animes to do that now, but like back then for me, that was new. Like seeing both perspectives of kind of like, I'm not a super OG, but for me that was new. Like seeing both perspectives of like one side and the other, good guys and bad guys, and like who is the good guy and the bad guy from perspectives, But yeah, I really enjoy It's Cryed, and I felt like one thing that goes into the short anime discussion while watching it was like it gets to the point. Like you have your plot line, you straight through. It doesn't waste any time because it doesn't have time to waste time. It gets through every episode, establishes all the characters. You see their perspectives, you see their quirks, their pitfalls, and it has a cool final battle that kind of leaves some stuff up in the open about where it ends and all that too. So when it comes to short anime, I'm with S. Cryed. I really like the anime.
I'm actually not sure if it's Escried or if it's just Scried. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I've heard either or, but I'm sure.
Yeah. I know it's got the apostrophe, so I'm like, it feel like something that should be pronounced differently. But I used to just call it Scried because I'm lazy, really. I will say, as far as like the dual protagonist thing, I was thinking about it, but I couldn't really think of anything that like predated that. I'm sure it's out there. as far as
Yeah.
being an anime OG, I mean, just seeing Scribe kind of puts you ahead of like most people
Yeah,
who
for
like
real.
got into it in like the late
Mhm.
2000s. So, like Scribe came out in like 2004 or something like that.
Yeah,
I want to
around
say
that time, I
04,
think.
and it came over here because I remember watching it before it went to Adult Swim. And like if we got to Adult Swim and I was like lit, I was like excited because I'm like, oh yeah, y'all gonna love this. And I mean, like my friends did at the time, like love the show because it was like really good. But like, I mean, that makes you as much of an OG as anybody. Like most people, they can't say that they was even around for that show, which is kind of plays into my argument. We'll talk about that later. Will, what's your favorite short anime series? 26 or less.
Okay, so if we talking 26 or less, I could easily go with the basic bitch answer of everyone's goddamn favorite Cowboy Bebop,
Mm,
or maybe an Outlaw Star. But I'm
mm,
gonna go off the beaten path into some shit that I really enjoy. Fucking Toradora is one of my favorite damn
Mm.
anime, and I love it to death. I have watched this show at least 4 different times on 4 different occasions, all the way
mm.
through each time, and it still just sticks with me because yes, I know it's a slice of life rom com. I get it. It may not sit with everybody, but and it's in high school. I know because that's the golden days for a lot of Japanese people, as they are supposedly told in their society. But I love it because it takes the rom com thing and makes it completely different. Instead of it being, oh, guy likes girl, tries it, or girl likes guy and tries it. Instead, it's main guy, main girl. They like 2 different people who are like each other's best friends. But along the way, as they're trying, they end up being closer to each other than they are to the people they want. And it's just, I like that dynamic because they have such an interesting one with the girl being a little short firecracker. And the other guy, he looks like a mobster, but he literally can probably spot clean your house better than most men in a hazmat suit and can cook. So I'm just sitting here like, these two make sense, and I fucking love it. Watch Toradora, y'all, and then watch Golden Time right after. You'll love it.
Check it out.
Uh, like I said, I guess let me go ahead and give my answer real quick. So I thought about Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it is kind of a basic bitch answer, but that there's a reason for that. It's the same
Mhm.
reason that, like, when people recommend a comic book that's not superheroes, the first thing they say is Sandman. Like, it's
Mhm.
because it's that good. It is the basic,
Right.
baby's first anime or like a baby's first comic in the case of Sandman. But like the reason why it is that is because it is that, like, the quality level is just that
Oh,
high.
yeah.
It kind of earned its
Definitely.
place. So like, it's not a bad thing to say Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
but there are so many other anime that I would like not say are better, but ones that I would probably boost up. And like two, I guess, real quick. Gundam 8th MS Team. Like that one was OG.
Yeah.
Like that's
Oh yeah.
Nice choice.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Very
like
good.
that one was
This
like I
is really
think
good.
yeah, it's like 13 episodes, and it had like a lot of things that no other Gundam series to date has ever done. The guerrilla warfare aspect of it,
Yep.
the way it took
Right.
place in like it didn't take place in space. I don't even think I think it starts in space in like the first episode, and then after that, it's on Earth, I believe, for the
They
rest
had
of the
them
story.
boots on the ground.
Yeah, they went full on Call of Duty. It's boots on the ground in that bitch. It's so like you just really out there in like the jungles, fighting it out with the Xeon. There are no ace pilots. There's no new types. There's no space magic. It's just
Mhm.
guys, soldiers with giant robots waging war. And then the other thing it did is that it's not a great romance looking back on it, but it's leaps and bounds ahead of any romance in Gundam history. Like every other romance in Gundam kind of sucks. Like romance has never been Gundam's strong suit, and 8th MS Team kind of brought it forward to the forefront, and it worked well enough so that it stood out and kind of made that show fun to watch. And so like that one is definitely like a OG, like because that's goes back to like what 2001 when it first came over here to America. So like that's predating just about all the influence that shonen has on the genre. It predates all of that shit. So like it's one of those old ones that just kind of stuck with me. So that should tell you something. And even in the Gundam community, it still kind of sticks with people that have seen it for the most part. What's up, Will?
Also, Bebop fans and Outlaw Star fans don't whoop my ass in the comments. I actually own this shit like 3 times on DVD. So
I'm-
please don't beat my ass for that.
Oh,
I
Well, I
love
mean,
it.
they're gonna come after me first because I'm gonna bring up something with Outlaw Star later.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Get 'em.
it's not really an attack. There's just gonna be
I know.
facts. Like we
Yeah.
finna get into what makes a show more memorable. But like,
Right.
The other the other show that I would say, and this one is almost forgotten. It's a 6-episode OVA. It used to air on Sci-Fi occasionally, called Iria, Zerum the Animation. It was like about this bounty hunter that was chasing down an alien, uh, just this unstoppable alien force that nobody could do anything about. And Iria just happened to be this like mega talented, she just happened to be this mega talented bounty hunter. And that was why everything just like she was the only one, or like her and her brother were the only ones that were capable of stopping it. It's a beautifully done anime. Like if you've never seen it, give it a shot. It's fucking ancient. It's from like the 90s, so it's gonna have 90s animation. If that's not your thing, probably skip it. But I mean, like if you can tolerate 90s animation, it's very good. You can watch it in like an afternoon. But it's like just a solid series that no other series that I've seen with sci-fi looks quite like that. It has a unique architectural design that just is that caught my eye even when I was in like 8th grade. So we're talking 2002, and the show obviously older than that, but like that it just caught my eye, and it's always stuck with me. So it's just a great show.
I remember this poster. I'll put it that way. I haven't seen the show, but I do remember seeing this poster like go around a few times. So, okay.
That's like one of those pre-Toonami shows. Like there would be anime on cable that was like pre-Toonami, like Tekka Man Blade, or like kind of Ronin Warriors, even though Ronin Warriors got brought into the fold later. But like there are a handful of anime that existed pre-Toonami that like either Sci-Fi would have, or you'd find on some local channel airing syndicated shit. So like that was one of those, and I saw it on like Saturday morning one morning. Terrence, what's your favorite short anime?
Okay, so I'm glad that you actually define, like, because I was going to ask that, like, what do we define as short? And okay, I do agree along those lines. Pretty much anything that goes beyond 26 episodes, that's long. Which, funny enough, back in the day, 25, 26 was kind of your standard, and when you got to 52 and beyond, that's when you got to your longer. But yeah, I mean nowadays, pretty much 12 is, you say, different.
Well, I was sitting here thinking, like, in terms of like 80s and 90s, for a while, 52 was kind of the standard, right?
Yeah.
Like they would air like all those old mecha shows, they would all run for like a year. That was kind of the goal. They run a year and then they go into syndication. And then later on, like one thing that happened is like some of the more popular series that are popular now weren't popular when they aired. And so they ended kind of early. 30 episodes, 39 episodes, 43 episodes. Gundam only ran 43 episodes because it just couldn't make it to the 52. So like at first it was like longer, and then like they kind of shortened down over the years as they wanted to get more anime out. And then like by the 2000s, it kind of was like 26 episodes was the standard. And I would say now the standard is what you said, 13 episodes.
Yeah. I guess this is what I meant, is that like pretty much around like the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, when like that 26 was kind of like the standard, and then you get to your 52, and that's considered like longer. But I digress. Anyway, my answer is not my favorite short anime, but it's the shortest anime that's on my list of favorites, and that's going to be Devilman Crybaby. It's 10 episodes. Devilman Crybaby, I mean, if anyone hasn't heard of it, it's really, really good. It's on Netflix. It's one of those anime where when you watch it and you rewatch it, there's so many details that you pick up on during your rewatch. It's like, oh, that's the reason why this happened, and this makes sense because of this. And it's like, oh, this character's like that way because of this. And it's like you just get to piece everything together. And I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. I really like that. And so that's probably my favorite short anime. There's plenty of others, but the shortest one that I really like would be Devilman Crybaby. And I think that's an anime that you could easily spend a day watching and you won't regret it. If you're not a fan of the art style, I mean, I get it. Don't watch it then. But if you can get past the art style, it's really good. I highly recommend it.
All right, well, we've got to do the other end of this now. What's your favorite long series? Will, what you got for me? Anything 40 and up, really? So like if you hit 50, preferably 100, but like 40 and up for sure.
Okay, I get you. Well, me being the guy I am, I do like some longer animes, depending, because I'm more of a short anime person. So, because quick little side tangent about it, my friends were big into Naruto and Naruto Shippuden for like a long time. I finished main Naruto, got into Shippuden, didn't finish it, but they kept watching it, and I'd have been watched about the way I looked at it. I could sit up here and watch about 10 or 12 shows by the time y'all get done watching these next few episodes in the next couple months. So I kind of like got sick on it. So if we had to talk like long shows, the longest show I probably watched offhand would probably be Soul Eater because it was 51 episodes and it was on Netflix when I watched it. And I enjoyed every single bit of it. Like I watched it on a whim because I was watching anime on one of my friends' Netflix account. And I was like, watch some shows. Watch Chobits, Girls Bravo. Then I saw Soul Eater. Let's sit with it for a minute. Once I sat down with it, I was hooked. But I was just pissed that they left it at 51 because it really left it in like a weird spot. And I'm just like, fuck am I gonna find these books at? So, so I'm just like, what can I do? But it's an amazing little shonen show. Go sit down with it, please. I implore you. Sit down with Soul Eater. Very wacky crew of characters, but they all have like great dynamics between masters and weapons. It's really cool.
Terrence, what's up, man? What's your favorite longer anime series?
My favorite, which I guess it's also just my favorite anime, if I have to narrow it down, is going to be Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu Hakusho, it's 112 episodes. I mean, it's Yu Yu Hakusho, I mean, there's nothing more that I can really say about it that hasn't already been said. It's a great anime. There's something there for everybody in some way, you know, I would say. If you need me to give an alternative answer, I mean, Full Metal Alchemist is a very, very, very solid choice. I mean, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, 64 episodes. I mean, it's not too long, it's not too short. It hits like that really good middle ground. And I'll say the same thing with Yu Yu Hakusho is that I feel like once an anime starts going beyond like 150 or so, that's when you're getting into like the One Piece, the Dragon Ball, and all that kind of territory. And for me, that's a heavy commitment. I mean, nowadays just watching, you know, over 52 episodes is a commitment. So, yeah. So, but yeah, that's my answer. Ultimately, my first answer is Yu Yu Hakusho, but I will say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, that's an extremely solid choice as well. Like both of them, if you haven't seen them before, highly recommend them. You know, they're not too long, not too short, and they tell a great story with the time that they have.
Man, you ain't never lied as far as like a commitment. Like these days, people be complaining if a season is like 13 episodes. It's like, oh man, that's so long. That's a lot of time. Like people don't want to, like everybody wants, you know, a nice 6 to 8 episodes. I'm talking about like not in anime, but in like just actual television, like like American or British television, that type of stuff. Like,
well, I guess I will say that those episodes are starting to get long for like those 6 to 8. Because like side note, since you mentioned it, I didn't know that the latest season of Stranger Things, the last episode is 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm like, are you serious?
That's a feature film.
That's a long movie at that. 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
That's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. That shocked me when I found that out. I was like, wow.
Get your money, Netflix.
I mean, it would be better if you split that up. Like, I don't know what the point of saying, oh, it's only six episodes is if like multiple episodes are well over an hour and one episode is like 2.5 hours. Like, what's the point then? Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like it'd be better to just split it up and just say like, okay, this is a 10 episode season, 45-minute episodes a piece. That seems like a smarter play. But what do I know? I mean, like, I don't, you know, direct, so I don't know. Like, maybe they thought that was the best decision, but I feel like it couldn't have been. Rakeem, what's your favorite longer series?
Okay, so I had to think about this one for a while because off the top of my head, immediately I was like, okay, Yu Yu Hakusho or Rurouni Kenshin would probably be like the two main ones that were kind of fighting in my head for two long series I watched as a youth and really, really enjoyed because they're easy to watch. And of course, I think like the Rurouni Kenshin we got in America wasn't the completed version. So there was still some episodes after that.
Yeah.
So I never got to see those final episodes, unfortunately. So that's kind of like an incomplete version. But for me, those are like two animes that did their job efficiently. I really enjoyed the characters. I like the story. But recently, I have to bring this up because I've been watching it so much. One Piece. I've been really, really enjoying watching One Piece. I straight up. And I got to talk. It's easier for me to talk about because I've watched it pretty much every day for 2 weeks. So the reason I think I'm starting to really, really get into One Piece more than I did when I watched it the first time when I was like 11 or 12 years old, is like rewatching it and like really feeling the story that like all the way through and the context that we didn't get with all the, the Fox kiddiness of those shows back then.
For kids TV.
They do a good job of like making you really sit with those characters and really feel their emotions. And one thing One Piece does with all the characters in that show is that they all have like an internalized goal. So imagine if like Naruto has the goal of I want to be the Hokage. Well, imagine if every character was like that. Like they're all determined to reach their specific goal. Zoro says, I'm going to be the best swordsman, and he's not freaking playing around about that. He's going to fight every swordsman he comes in contact with. He goes against the head honcho. Sanji says he wants to be the best cook that ever lived. He's so serious about it, he doesn't even use his hands to fight. He only uses his hands to cook. When he's in a fight, he uses his feet. That's how serious he is about that. Nami wants to be a good navigator. She spends episodes doing cartography. She's mapping out plans, things like that. Every character has a specific goal in mind, and they all have like very, very, very detailed backstories. And they all are used in a way that they feel useful to the team. No one feels like they're thrown to the wayside, at least in the early chapters. Of course, it can change later, but like I'm really, really invested in that show. And I got to say, it's growing on me as one of the more popular animes I've liked recently. The only other anime I can say personally that I really liked when I was younger, when I was in college, was actually Hitman Reborn. The reason I liked it, it was just so quirky. It was an anime started off really goofy. The main protagonist, anybody who hasn't watched Hitman Reborn, it's about anime kind of about the mafia and kind of not. Basically, it's like a kid finds out he's in the lineage for this mafioso, but it's like a baby with a gun who shoots him in the head. It gives him powers. And then like by episode 20, everything changes. So it like starts off as a very comedic anime where it's really goofy. He gets shot in the head. He takes off all his clothes. He acts eccentric. In episode 20, the mafia stuff starts happening and it gets more serious. When the serious stuff happened in that show, it got so much more interesting to me.
It was way more interesting.
Way more interesting. They had like a cool power system. The protagonists had to learn and train underneath the tutelage of Reborn. Every character got like these cool upgrades and powers. They had dynamics in the cast. And I got to say, man, I really enjoyed it. And it was one of those times when I was kind of like, off anime a little bit. I was kind of taking a break from anime, and I watched Hitman, and I couldn't stop watching it. It was one of those animes that kept me glued to anime, and it kind of kept me in the medium. So I got to shout out to Hitman Reborn. I really like the anime as well.
Okay, so for me, I mean, like initially I went with like, okay, it needs to be a longer anime because there are a lot of anime that I like that hit that 50 to 60 sweet spot. Macross 7 is an excellent anime. I don't care what Macross fans say. Like, I fucking love that show. The Nanoha series gets multiple seasons, even though it's technically like 13, 26, whatever. The Symphogear series, those are all goated, but like I wanted to go high. And so like I started with 100 plus, and I was like, Yu Yu Hakusho is of course the obvious answer. And it's weird because that's like the shortest 112 episode anime you'll ever watch.
I agree.
Like I agree. There's no wasted time to it. Like they hit 4 different arcs, 4 different villains, 4 different feels. Because like the second arc, Dark Tournament, is like a stereotypical here's your Shonen tournament.
It's a
type
tournament
thing.
Arc.
Yeah,
standard.
And I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho has like 3 different tournament arcs. It has the one with Rando, it has the Dark Tournament, and then of course the last arc is technically a tournament as well.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on. Like that one's the most stereotypically here's a Shonen tournament like arc. That one's fun, but then it shifts into Chapter Black and the Sensui stuff, which is like a complete turn everything on its head. It almost feels like a seinen in terms of how it approaches like good versus evil and like it being like shades of gray and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And the characters continue to develop. And it's like I said, like when I say it's the shortest 112 episodes, it's like even if there is filler, you won't ever be able to tell. Like they cut out some stuff even from the manga because it's almost like they're like, okay, well we gotta get going. Like
yeah, because he stayed he technically stayed dead for a long time in the manga, right?
I think a volume or 2 like of the manga, he was just still dead. And that
Yeah.
what's up, Keen?
Oh, I was about to bring up, like, not only is that accurate, I remember when I first was introduced to Yu Yu Hakusho was in Shonen Jump, and I was reading it weekly with my friend because he got a weekly Shonen Jump back then. He was a ghost for like a long time. When the anime came out, I was like, he fighting people now? He's not a ghost? What's going on?
I think it took him 5 episodes. By the 5th
Yeah.
episode,
Mhm.
and like it took 5, but like by the 5th, not only did they bring him back, but they had assigned his first Spirit Detective case. They were like,
Yes,
"Hey,
sir.
you got to go get back these 3 treasures and go fight Goki." By the end of the fifth episode, they were not wasting time. Like that show really gets it going. As far as like a longer series than that, a weird answer probably would be Case Closed. I thought that was like it's too long and it falls into some of the pitfalls that we're probably going to talk about in a little bit. It falls into some of the pitfalls of being too long of an anime in that sometimes it can feel aimless. It feels like, okay, like when are we going to get to the point of this? But I do like the characters. I like the whole mystery that nobody could ever realistically solve. I like just the interplay of the characters. The animation style is a throwback. Like, even though it's a modern version of the 90s animation, it's still very 90s when you look at it. It doesn't feel like it ever changed in such a way that you're like, wow, this looks like it could be indistinguishable from a 2010 series. Nah, it looked like a 1997 show. That's what it looks like. And I love that. Even though it's like HD now, it still looks like a 1997 show. I do wish it was shorter. I do wish they kind of got to the point. But I mean, yeah, I like overall, like Case Closed is just a very fun show for me. I haven't seen some of the newer episodes. I do watch the movies periodically just because it's a great way to like still stay in touch with that universe. But until what's my man's name? Gosho Aoyama, I think is the creator. Until Aoyama wraps it on up, I'm like, I'll come back. I'll come in periodically when they tell me it's something big going on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's shift to this, and this is a bit of a harder question to answer. Do y'all feel like it's hard or harder for a longer series to maintain relevance? And do you feel like they're like, what challenges do you think a long series faces when it comes to like maintaining relevance? Terrence, what's up, man?
All right. So my short answer, of course I'm gonna give a long answer, but my short answer to this is quality. Quality is the thing that it makes the difference between a long series succeeding and it failing. Here's an example for me, Bleach. And I'm not bringing up Bleach to like crap on Bleach because it's like the fun thing to do, or, you know, what the kids like to do or anything like that. Although it seems like nowadays everybody's like trying to, you know, hype up Bleach or, you know, kind of put it more in a positive light than what it was maybe like in like the 2010s. Ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I trust me. I was there when Bleach was coming out. Like, I read it as it was coming out weekly. I watched the anime. So it's like, this is one of those cases where it's like, don't tell me about the ancient scriptures. I was there when they were written. So I know about what was going on with Bleach at the time. No, but I always wanted to say that. No, but anyway, with Bleach, the big problem for me, the reason why it started to fall apart was that you could tell that Kubo didn't really know what direction he wanted to take the story in. And there was just certain parts in the manga and the anime where it's just like, why is this happening? Like, what is going on? I know one of the big criticisms I had with the manga was there'd be certain like panels and like pages that would just be just sparse background with nothing going on. And it's like, why are we wasting pages like this? Like, I would get a whole chapter and like 5 pages would be dedicated to just like backgrounds where there's like nothing going on. And then maybe a couple more pages where something actually happens. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you have for this week? That was a waste of time. And the anime was a case where, well, I guess it's the anime and the manga. One arc that I'll bring up that feels like it's just a total, like, what are we doing here, is the Fullbring arc. You know, I'm going to spoil it because if you hadn't watched Bleach by now, I mean, what are you doing? Anyway, after the fight with Aizen, where Ichigo loses his powers, we go into the Fullbring arc where pretty much Ichigo spends that arc getting his powers back, which is like, okay, if he's getting his powers back, then what was the point of him losing them at the end of the previous arc? It's like you pretty much just defeated the purpose of like the significance of what happened before. And not only that, but pretty much those characters that were brought up in that arc, they're never really relevant after that, at least to my from what I remember, is like they don't really go on to like do anything significant after the Fullbring arc is over, do they? Do you all remember?
It's like, no, to me, like if I'm going off memory, and it's been a while since I read the Fullbring arc, and I was definitely, I think the Fullbring arc was the thing, because I liked Bleach more than I liked the other big three, and I think the Fullbring arc was the arc that made me go, all right, well, I think I'm gonna tap out now. I liked what they were doing at first because I wanted it to be a story to him getting his powers back, but yeah, in the end, it felt like a manga version of a filler arc.
Yeah.
It didn't tie to anything. It didn't do anything. It was just like, if you take this arc out and say he never lost his powers, he just kept fighting as a Shinigami, nothing changes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I didn't like about it. And I couldn't find it. I tried to find it before us recording, but I remember like 10 or so years ago, and it's probably buried now, which is the reason why I can't find it. I remember there being an interview with Kubo where he talked about how he had to sometimes go back and read previous chapters of Bleach to kind of catch up with the story and figure out what's going on. And if you're an author and you're doing that, that is a really, really bad sign, because it's like, as an author, you should have an idea of how you want things to start and somewhat of an idea of an ending and kind of how you want to get there. I mean, naturally, you're not going to know everything, but you want to at least know how your story is going to start and have some idea of how it's going to end. And that's one thing that I'll actually, getting off of Bleach, one thing that I'll give One Piece is that despite its length and the memes that people make about it, it's like, no, I'm not going to watch One Piece, it's too long. The one thing that I will say that I never hear from fans of One Piece are complaints. Fans of One Piece don't really complain about it. Like, it just seems like it's an incredibly solid anime and manga that just everyone enjoys. Like, they just go into it. Oda gives just really good writing, really good character development and story and everything, and just connects it all together just really, really well. And that's why One Piece is the best-selling manga ever. It just seems like Oda just knows what he's doing. And in comparison to somebody like Kubo, where, you know, it just seems like he was going by the seat of his pants sometimes, that's what I mean by the difference in quality. It's like Bleach, it started off great, but the quality started to go down. Whereas something like One Piece, it was consistent, and that's what makes it a better long anime. Whereas, you know, Bleach is not as good as a long anime because it feels like as it goes on, the quality just slowly starts to dip. And, you know, this isn't even just an anime thing. You can go to other mediums, like look at Game of Thrones, where it had a good start, good middle, but then when it got to that final season, oh boy, people do not like that final season, and a lot of people just say, hey, just throw the whole series away. So you have to have a strong start, a strong middle, and a satisfying conclusion. And for a long anime, it can be hard to land that just because you have so many episodes that you're going through that it can be hard to keep that quality consistent the entire time. Whereas a short anime, you know, you only have 12, 13 episodes or 24, whatever. You could tell a more concise story in that time. So that's the challenge, in my opinion, that long anime face, is keeping that quality up for that entire time. Because even if we look at the big three, besides, you know, One Piece, which I said seems to maintain its quality quite well, Bleach and Naruto, they have had, Bleach more so than Naruto, but they've had certain dips where it's like, there's stuff that happens in the story where it's like, well, this is questionable, or sometimes something happens to a character, or a character does something that just throws everybody off. I mean, hey, to this day, everybody still likes to argue whether or not Sakura is useless. I mean, I don't think she's useless at all, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. But
she's useful in Boruto. There you go.
Yeah, but
Naruto fans don't want to watch it, but I mean, she's useful there.
But that's my ultimate answer, is that it really all comes down to quality. And as a long anime, as long as you can maintain that quality, you're in the clear. But very few long anime can do that, in my opinion.
Will, do you feel like a longer series has more trouble maintaining relevance, or like, what do you feel like the challenges are for a longer series?
Okay, so when it comes to longer series, I'll say maybe minus the case of One Piece. I'm gonna probably try to like use a couple of examples here. In the case of like long animes, I think their problems kind of start, and my answer is kind of similar to Terrence, where it's quality, but I also think it can be a case of either it being aimless, redundant, or they find themselves doing the Mary Sue thing, and that is like really not great for any show in any which way, shape, or form. It's saddening to see, honestly. And I don't, like I said, I don't mind a longer show, and I think the example I want to kind of use is anyone in here ever heard of Hell Girl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Definitely.
that show has, well, at least I know of it right now, has basically 4 seasons, and the first season it does get repetitive with the whole, oh, I'm gonna I did something dirty to somebody, they get revenge on me, sign me up, get me sent to hell, and I'm done for by the end of the episode. Somewhere along the line, it got so redundant by like the third season that I feel like it went into such a weird direction where they started kind of talking about like the properties and the bureaucracy of hell and all this other stuff. I'm like, y'all had me in the first couple seasons, but this third season threw me, and this fourth season, I'm not even sure about what's going on. So that's kind of the struggle with long animes. It's trying to keep it fresh, really, because let's be real. How many times can Naruto really knock somebody out to get the Sasuke before you kind of be like, look, I'm kind of tired of seeing him fight somebody for it. I'm kind of tired of seeing Goku charge up before he throws his son into the fire. I mean, look, get to the point. That's kind of the thing. Talk to me, Terrence. What's up?
I was just gonna say real quick on Hell Girl. What's wild about that is that last season, didn't they do like reruns within that season?
Did they? Because if they
I'm pretty sure they
I
did.
never watched that series.
Yeah, they
I
did.
never
They
watched
did.
I never watched the fourth one.
There was like only so many new episodes in that season, and then they just did some reruns within that same season. It was really weird. That whole season of Hell Girl was kind of goofy. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
only thing
I
I
think
wanted to
the-
mention about it.
Okay, but other than that, if we want to talk about another longer series, I would probably say something along the lines of like maybe like Higurashi, I guess, because it kind of makes you tie things together between plots. So like each different part of it makes you tie things up. Like you go through this part here, someone dies here, but it resets their back. Different things happen, and then the next season kind of starts telling you about what's happening, so that way you can get an idea of why this happened back then. Things like that I'm cool with, but when we get to 100, 2, 3, 400, somewhere along the line, you're gonna lose me because something is out there that is not going to catch my attention or keep me watching. So, and eliminate filler too, because a lot of times filler arcs is just full of shit. Like I don't want to see the beach arc. I didn't ask for a beach arc. I asked you to continue going on after this villain got his ass beat, and there's a new one popping up.
So I feel like the longer series have it easier in some ways, and we'll get into that a little bit
Okay.
more just in the next question. But right now, I just want to say like, and there are some challenges like filler arcs. Like the thing we'll end it off on is like, I guess what I'll start out with. When you're an adaptation of a manga, inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to catch up to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way around it. Hunter, I remember when they did Hunter x Hunter in 2011, and of course, Togashi hadn't gone back to it. It was on break. It had been on break for a while. It's actually been on break more than there are chapters published, but like
Hiatus.
and then they hold it too,
Hiatus cross
'cause, like
hiatus.
yeah, hiatus. Then they hold it too. Like they wanted him to work on ideas for like some films, and they did 2 films, and I'm like, nah, y'all wasting this dude. He should be working on the manga. Like I remember he stopped to work on some film stuff, and I was like, that's a mistake. But like I guess they thought, oh, we're so far behind, it'll take forever for us to catch up, and it didn't. It took 2 years, I think maybe 2.5 years, something like that. It was 110 episodes, I think, and it caught up, and that was it. They had to wrap that shit up. And that's a problem. Like, and that's what happened to Black Clover, really. Like, Black Clover is the last of the long runners. And before you get to type it in the comments, what I mean when I say the last of the long runners is like Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach have been around for decades. And they're just gonna keep running until they hit their, till the creators are like, we out. But like Black Clover was the first new long runner where it just didn't go on break. It just kept going.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
And
Very good point.
And what happened to Black Clover is the same thing that happened to countless other manga from the 2000s and the early 2010s. Eventually, it caught up to the manga. It had to do some filler. Then it caught up to the manga again, and they were like, fuck it. We're going to have to stop. And that's probably one of the bigger challenges that any longer series faces. Even JoJo, I was talking about this with the guys last night. JoJo started in like 87. I was born in 87, so it's 34 years old. It's as old as I am. And it started in 87, and guess what? They're already on part 6 of 8. It's almost finished. You got maybe probably maybe 5, 6, 7 more years of JoJo.
Mhm.
And guess what? Part 9 hasn't even started yet. Araki's been on break for the better part of like a year now. Part 9 is JoJo Lands, if you don't know about it. JoJo Lion finished up sometime late last year. They're working through Stone Ocean. Stone Ocean will probably finish up either this year or early next year. And then what? You got maybe a year's break.
Before Steel Ball Run.
You say what?
Mhm.
Yeah.
A little bit before Steel Ball Run.
You got maybe a year and a half break for David Production before they start on Steel Ball Run, and then they'll get through JoJo Lion, and then they'll be caught up. And that's a project that it'll have taken them maybe 15 years to do something that it took him 34 years to do. That's just the nature of things. And that's a big problem that any longer series has. You're going to run out of pace. Like the pacing is going to be off, or you're going to run out of source material, or you run out of things to do. Like some stories, they get so stuck on like one villain. And that's the thing I loved about Yu Yu Hakusho. There's like a new villain every arc. Like there's a new super villain, like an arc villain that Yusuke has to face. They don't like, I don't know what the number of episodes is, but there's a certain number of episodes beyond which the villain you got is the villain you stuck with. And once you beat that villain, your story's over. That's what happened with Aizen. Like Aizen him stuck around too fucking long. He was out there just doing whatever, getting over on people. And eventually it was like, okay, well, we beat Aizen. It's time to introduce somebody new. And everybody was like, somebody new? No, like, ain't nobody new. You beat Aizen. That was the end. And then like that's the problem that a lot of shows like Terrence was talking about, like, hey, with Kubo kind of, he would tell you in the manga, and like I remember reading an interview of Kubo where he said, when I get stuck, I just make up new characters. Like he didn't have any like a specific direction he was pushing towards. He would just make up new characters who would introduce new plot points, and that would be how he got on. And like a lot of manga creators will do that. They don't have like an ending in mind. They just keep going. Even with Hiro Mashima, the guy that created Fairy Tail and Eden Zero, somebody was like, hey, what's the difference between Eden Zero and Fairy Tail? And he was like, with Fairy Tail, I was kind of just making it up as I went along. Eden Zero, I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. And it shows. Like, it shows in the anime and in the manga. The manga is so much better. Like, it took me a while. I was like, is this better? Because the characters kind of look too similar to Fairy Tail.
Yeah.
But, like, once you get past that and you, like, really pay attention to the plot, you're like, oh, no, this is way better. It, like, stops all the comedy bullshit that Fairy Tail does, like, for a long time, for way too long. It stops all the comedy bullshit. It's telling a very clear narrative. Like, for a while, for watching Fairy Tail, you didn't really know what the narrative was. It was like, because it was told through the eyes of Lucy and the focus wasn't on Natsu, you didn't realize the story was like, okay, what happened to the dragons? Like, the dragons that raised Natsu and the other dragon slayers, they disappeared 400 years ago. What happened to them? You didn't know. Like, they didn't explain it to you until, like, it's not really until Tenro Island, which is like halfway through Fairy Tail, that you really get an idea, like, this is what the story's about. With Eden Zero, from day one, all right, they're trying to travel to the center of the universe to find Mother, the creator of existence. Cool. That's what you can do when you have a plot in mind, and you can run as long as you want. Like, that's why One Piece doesn't have any complaints. You can run as long as you want when you know what you're doing and where you're going. And that, like, a lot of stories, they just don't have that. And at the same time, like, they get caught up, and there's always this fucking same fucking thing that people drag. And they don't say it as much in anime, but they say it in every other medium. Oh, well, what's more important, the journey or the destination? Nigga, the destination. You get in a car to go somewhere. You don't fuck all the gas too high. You don't just hop in a car and just ride around. No, the destination is the point of this. So, like, when you fuck, like Terrence said, if you fuck up your ending, you are in trouble. You can't just, the ending, the beginning was good and the middle was good, but the ending is trash. But I mean, it's the journey, right? No, it's not.
No, that's like, the problem that Attack on Titan. I'm hoping it doesn't
Oh my
encounter, because
God.
people are talking about, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm just saying that that's the concern a lot of people have with the anime is if it does the same thing that the manga did, a lot of people might be upset at the ending, and so it's going to just pretty much discredit the entire series, and that's
Well,
unfortunate.
my
That's
understanding
super
is that it's
unfortunate.
pretty faithful, so it's just going to disappoint people, isn't it?
So far,
well-
it has been faithful.
Yeah, but we
So
don't
far.
know if they're going to change the ending in some kind of way with the anime. So
Right.
that's the thing right now. And also, I mean, we still have that final season coming. Well, part 3 of the final season. So it's like,
Yeah, because goddamn, they
Ridiculous.
wanted to wait to do
That was surprising to me because I know the manga just ended last year. So because remember the anime was running, and I'm like, the manga is about to end like in a few weeks. Like, are y'all? That's when they split it up. Like, oh, okay, y'all aren't just rushing to the end. I thought they were going to rush and make up an ending because the manga was like finishing like at the same time the anime was running. I was like, this isn't going to work, and they split it up that way. I hope we'll see, Terrence. Like, I don't know exactly what happens at the end. I know everything that happens before the very end because I read some of that in the manga, but I actually intentionally didn't watch the ending because I wanted to see that animated.
yeah,
So
I
we'll
only
see how
brought
it
that
goes.
up as like, as a point for your case about, sticking the ending and how important it is. Because if Attack on Titan doesn't stick the ending, it's going to be another Game of Thrones.
It's gonna
That is really sad because I've seen people talk about how this is like one of the great masterpieces for anime, and I mean, like,
It's peak fiction.
it's one of those peak fiction ass shows. I'm really excited to get into the next question. By the way, like, it's about to get rough in this bitch.
No.
Let's go.
At least for my take. That's why I really wanted to go next and give Rakeem, because I don't want to talk for 10 minutes uninterrupted or whatever. I kind of want to break my shit up. So I got my shit out. And so, Keem, I'm going to ask you before we move on to the next question. What are the challenges you think a longer series has in maintaining relevance?
So I'm gonna come from a different perspective on this, I guess, from everybody else. I mean, to me, keeping relevance as a longer series should actually be easier because you're still running, you're still permeating the mindset of people. Because there's a lot of really, really good anime from the past, like we talk about, that some of these young kids, they ain't gonna talk about it anymore. Like, ain't no young kids talking about Slayers.
Keem is stepping all over my point. I want you to keep going. Let's go.
He said it ain't no.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some in some ways longer series have the ability to like permeate in the ethos of multiple generations, so it carries on. For instance, I watched Naruto, and my little brother, who's 10 years younger than me, also watched Naruto. So we both have an understanding of that series. We both had an enjoyment of that series that we even talk about it to this day sometimes. What's going on Naruto, like Naruto Fortnite thing. I can talk to my brother about that because he's a hardcore Naruto fan. So in that way, it actually is able to keep its relevancy longer to some anime in the past. Now I think shorter series usually just have a better pacing, they get to the point faster. Critically, a lot of times they tend to be better in the long run because longer series, their flaws are exposed.
Yeah.
They bear flaws. Another wrestling reference, like the best, if you want to be a good promoter in a wrestling business, you want to get your top star, you promote their strengths and cover their weaknesses. When a short anime, you promote all the strengths immediately, and you don't really see most of the weaknesses because it's already over. Whereas in a long anime, you see all the flaws. Everything's out to bear. If it's got some weaker characters, then that they kind of, you didn't notice at first, but like 50, 60 episodes in, you was like, that character isn't that great, or this character's development isn't that great. That stuff gets exposed. Does this writer repeat certain storylines? Or do they not know how to write female characters? Do they not know how to write villains correctly? Is their protagonist too one-dimensional? Things like that. There's different elements. So that's some of the pitfalls that can happen in longer series. Another pitfall I think with long shonen, well, not to be shonen anime, long animes in general, is that if you want to keep people paying attention,
it's most likely shonen, right?
It's most likely shonen.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you want the one thing, like, to me, is like that's most important if these longer animes have to hit. First and foremost, I gotta like these characters more than anything else. I gotta like these characters. To this day, I still think about the scene from Dragon Ball Z when Vegeta's on his deathbed on Planet Planet Namek, talking to Goku, and tears is coming down his eyes. That was a very emotional moment for me, where like I got to see deeper into that character than I ever thought I'd see because he was such a villainous character. Or An example, like I watched One Piece recently. There's a really important scene where Nami, who's a character who's like always kind of like money grubbing and like really to herself and like really trying to gather something. And there's a point where like the villain literally breaks her. Like the emotional toll is too much. And then like Luffy puts his hat on her head and said, "I got you. We'll take care of him." And that he went straight for it. Moments like that make me like, all right, I'm behind these characters 100%. That can keep me involved in anime far longer than any storyline or cool fight scene or anything like that. I gotta like the characters. So for these longer form animes, some of them are able to get you into those characters early and like really develop those characters well, and some of them don't. And a part of that problem is longer animes have too many characters. They'll have like 15, 16, 17, 18 people. Bleach had that problem where you had like so many members of Soul Society, so many villains clashing against each other. Great example that Sage brought up about the creator talking about he makes new characters. When there's too many characters to keep up with, it's hard to stay invested. Sometimes
that was
it's
a
better
big
to have-
problem during the war arc with Naruto.
Yes,
That was a big problem with it
Yes.
because there was a lot of new characters that were introduced, and it was like, who is this? And yeah. But sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
And I go back to One Piece on this one. One of the reasons people feel like One Piece's pacing is off is one of its strengths. They don't waste characters. If you show up and you're important, they're gonna give you all the character development. They're gonna go into your backstory. They're not gonna cheat you. Some character who might be minor, goofy side character, Tiger Man. That dude's gonna have an important role in the story at some point. Everyone feels important, even if they're just there for a moment, and they even come back later and do things. So, like, yeah, those are the things that I think that can happen in pitfalls in longer anime. Too much exposure causes characters and flaws of the show to show up. I'm not invested in the characters as much as I should be already. And on top of that, you kind of lose the point as well. Like you kind of you kind of lose the plot of like why are we here? Why are these characters motivated by this? And like, why are these threads kind of repeating? So things like that happen.
So the next question, which is the one that I was excited to get into, Rakeem, at the beginning of it, he was kind of like, he kind of hit on what I was going for. Do you feel like a shorter series has it tougher standing out over longer periods of time? And so here's the thing. Basically what Rakeem said, like, yes, it's so much harder when you're like, it's okay. Like you can be great as a shorter series, but it don't matter. Like people gonna forget. And I mean, like it's really just the passage of time, like, and how much content that we're swamped in. Like every season, there's another 50 fucking anime, and like some of them are good. And I'm finna hurt people's feelings in just a little bit because it's a lot of shows where I'm like, yup, it's just like that. Like, Will said Outlaw Star. If you are our age in your 30s, you know what Outlaw Star is. And Outlaw Star was considered a GOAT anime. I would bet money that if you talk to most 25, 23-year-olds, you're going to say, hey, what you think of Outlaw Star? They're going to be like, what the fuck is that?
My brother
They don't
probably
have
has no
any
idea
memory
what
of that shit. They weren't around for the Toonami era where that shit was on. Or even like when they used to air in reruns at really late on Adult Swim. They weren't around for that. They don't remember it. And so like it doesn't matter how great a story is if people don't remember it. And here's the other problem. I mean, like, let's just say this. When you have so many new series that are also good, it's like in the 90s, there were fewer anime. You could say like, okay, there's maybe 30 or 40 anime that you have to watch. Some of them were movies. Some of them were OVAs. All of them, like very few of them were really long. Like the longest anime at the time that was like a serial anime. If we talking early 90s or if we talking like the early 2000s, One Piece wasn't over here yet. Like it wasn't on and popping with One Piece yet. Like One Piece, I think it came on the Fox box in like 2003. But if you talking 2001, 2002, like you go get a list of maybe 40 anime, and all of them are like really short. Dragon Ball Z is gonna be the longest one you watching, and it's longer than the rest of them by like 6, 7, 8 times. The rest of them are really at best 40 episodes, 50 episodes. Most of them go run 6, 8. Most of them go run 6 to 26, something like that. And so like you're watching, you can get through all the landmark, really important, really great shows really quickly. You can't do that no more. Do you know how many great shows came out in the 2000s? Do you know how many great shows came out in the 2010s? And so, like, it's cool. The show can be great. The show can be amazing. It can blow you away. You can be like, oh, shit, this shit was incredible. And guess what? In 2 years, everybody going to be there forgot about it. Okay? And this is stepping on my next question a little bit, but I'm going to just go ahead and say it. Last week, I gushed over Licorice Recoil. I gushed over it. I talked about how incredible it was. I watched the episode today, and I still just had this big grin on my face watching Chisato, listening to her voice actor, that actress who's doing a fantastic job of bringing life to that character. And guess what? In a year, nobody's going to remember that show ever aired. Like, it hurts for me to say it, but the truth is the truth. In a year, nobody's going to know. And while we at it, like, people complain about remakes. In the anime world, remakes might be necessary. Trigun?
In a way, yeah.
How many people know what the fuck Trigun is about now? How many of these, oh man, the big three, goated, this, that, and the third, how many of them ever saw Trigun? How many of them know who the fuck Vash and Stampede is?
They know what
How many
like, but
kids
they never watched the show.
They never watched it because the shit been off the air, off cable for years. Like, even something as great as Cowboy Bebop to me, the only reason it has the relevance it has in America is because Adult Swim wouldn't stop airing that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very true.
If they had stopped airing that shit,
that ain't Inuyasha.
I mean, Inuyasha is long though. Like that motherfucker. It's long as a bitch. It's like 160 episodes, and then they had to do a final chapter, another 26. So it's close to 200 episodes. So like, at least it's got that going for it. And like you said, like when a show is that long, people grow up with it. So even if the show is mediocre, and I'm not gonna point no fingers, I don't really care about pointing fingers and be like, oh, this show that you love is actually trash. I ain't got time for that. What I'm telling you is, even if a show is mediocre, if you wake up and watch it every day or every week, you watch the episode, you coming home from school, you all hype, you all happy, you like, oh, I'm gonna watch this. Even as it falls off, people don't understand sunk cost fallacy. They just gonna keep watching it. They're like, well, I've been watching it this long, I gotta see it through. So like, it don't really matter like how long the show is and how long ago it fell off. None of that shit matters. Like, you've been watching it since you was a junior in high school and you didn't graduate college, and you're not gonna get in. Like, if that sounds extreme, it's not. Like, how old is One Piece? Came out in 96 in the manga and 99, I think, or 98 in the anime. Like, that's not extreme at all. Like, that show literally has been running for 20 plus years. What's up, Keen?
I remember I talked to you about this the other day. I was like, what are you watching? Oh, you watching me watch One Piece? I was like, yeah, I remember this arc when I was like 11 years old. And I remember watching this. I watched it like, oh yeah, watch this next episode. This one, I'm ready for the final fight with the villain. I remember this specifically. I was a kid. I'm 31 now. I remember that vividly.
Yeah,
That's
I remember you talking about, Luffy putting the hat on Nami. I was like, oh, you're talking about the Arlong arc. So it's like,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
You see how long that is? Like, people not, it's not that longer series don't have challenges. It's that, like, when you're around for that long, like, not only do people kind of let you go and they just like, hey man, I'm gonna just let you have it. Like Simpsons and Family Guy and American Dad, like, once you're on a certain amount of time, they don't want to let you go off. Like, they would rather you stay on the air because they like, hey man, we know you got a guaranteed fan base for us that's gonna make us a certain amount of money every year. And like, that shit just, shorter series can't compare to that. And so a short series has to be literally godlike. It has to be talked about for generations just to keep people hyping it. Cowboy Bebop, Neon Genesis Evangelion, like, it has to be some next level, like, done some shit that nobody's ever done before, or at least like it got popular for doing something that may have been done before. Like, that's the only way. And so like, yeah, to me, I feel like shorter series have a way tougher job, way more work to do. Will, what's up, man? Do you feel like shorter series have a tougher time standing out, or do you feel like it's you just got to be good and it's fine?
Okay, I'll be real with you. I do think shorter series have a tougher time standing out. And the thing I wanted to talk about was how some shorter series kind of carry themselves out in Japan. And a shorter series here, it'll get people talking in the US. Like, if you're great, people will talk about you. People will do cosplays, fan art, fanfics, posters, merchandise, whatever. Now it's the same thing in Japan, but except it's gonna be some real deal official stuff. You're gonna see cafes. You're gonna see people walking around with those characters' clothes and styles, like not even unironically. You're gonna see that
Conventions.
type of thing.
Mhm.
Yep, and conventions, all type of little stuff like that. And it makes you wonder sometimes, how come these things don't stick that long? I think the only time those shows really stick that long after the fact is if it ends up having either a second season or its impression was so well done that they continue to do stuff related to it going into the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my short shows. Like you were mentioning, the Cowboy Bebop, the Outlaw Stars, Evangelion, even Fooly Cooley, if I had to say so myself. Like stuff
Hey.
like that. Like it sticks. But year after year, just like we constantly getting so many good shows, I think a lot of the time we get a lot of good shows. There's always at least one that's great that sticks out. All the rest of those good shows get overshadowed by this one great one, and this great one continues to get talked about. These other good shows, they get their time in the sun, especially if they did something that this other show didn't do. But they just keep getting swept under the rug more and more. Each time a new season comes by, each time a new year rolls by, something gets swept under the rug. Even if it was great for 12, 13, 14, 20, 25, 26, 28, 30 episodes. Even if it's that long, there's plenty of good shows out there, but they have a hard time maintaining relevance. And the only time I even think sports animes that end up being short,
Mm.
they have to fight for it. The only sports anime that I don't count that towards is probably something like maybe Inazuma 11, Kuroko's basketball, and Kuroko no basket. I ain't gonna say Kuroko's basketball. That feels wrong. And maybe something like Haikyuu, because I hear Haikyuu's gonna get ready to come to its end soon because there's
Yeah, I heard about
Haikyuu
that.
final.
They're doing 2 movies from my understanding, and Haikyuu fans are pissed. Instead of it being a final season, they're doing 2 movies to my understanding.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
wow.
Is there like a lot left?
From what so if there's Haikyuu fans that are watching this, all one of you that might be watching this, whatever.
There's a lot of people
Like
watching.
from what I read, because I saw this before we started the podcast. One of the anime YouTubers I watched, he made a video about it. Supposedly there's like 110 chapters that are left of the manga that they need to adapt. And they're going to have to cram all that into 2 movies instead of a final season.
No.
That's just my understanding of it. Like if there's any inaccuracies in that, somebody can feel free to, let me know in the comments. But to my based on what I read, that's the case. That's what's going to happen.
I don't even like Haikyuu, but like my heart goes out to them. Like that's fucked.
Man.
Them 2 films are not gonna get the job done. You're
They
gonna be
aren't.
missing so many cold moments. 2 films for 110. Oh my god. That's
Yeah.
you know how many chapters you know how many episodes that should be? That's like probably 30 episodes.
Yeah.
That's like another 30, maybe 35 at the minimum.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, y'all. That's
Yeah, I'm so
sucks.
sorry for y'all, bro. I done spit my point going to the next person, but damn Haikyuu fans, I didn't think y'all was getting hit like that.
That's trash.
You ain't never lied. Terrence, do you feel like a shorter series has it tougher standing out?
So, I mean, you all have made some really good points. And I guess there's some things that I probably should have said in my section on longer. I do agree that the longer a show is, the more chances it has to make a greater impression in the mainstream. I mean, heck, the point that and this is why I like to write down stuff so I don't forget. For if I were to go back for like a long show. I'm not talking about anime. I'm just talking about TV in general. Like, if I were to go back to the early 2000s and say, hey, do you remember the show called Fast Lane? Like that show was like on for like 22 episodes. And it's like very few people would remember that show just because it didn't stick around that long, even though it was a pretty good show in my opinion.
That show was goated, bro.
Yeah.
I remember that show.
But
it had Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah.
And man, what's my man's name? What's the black dude's name on it?
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now.
Bill Bellamy, I think.
Yeah,
That might be him.
I think so.
That show was great. It was.
Yeah.
It kind of was like Fast and Furious, but not quite.
Yeah.
It's like if you merge Fast and Furious with like Miami Vice a little bit. Like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
that
see,
show's fire.
but see, Sage remembers it. But if I were to ask like a general audience, like especially like younger people, it'd be like, "When the world are you talking about?" Whereas if I asked you about Law and Order SVU, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless if you think it's bad or think it's good, you would at least have an opinion on it or know about it because it's been going on for so long. It's like over 20 years old at this point. And that's kind of the point that I want to make is that, yeah, the longer that you're around, regardless of how good or bad you are, you still have more chances to leave an impression than something that's shorter. And that kind of, I'm trying to tie it all in here. And that brings me to a point about shorter series is that they can have problems, but I think those problems can be alleviated in a few ways. One, and Will, you were actually, I think, multiple of, like all of you were kind of hinting at this as well. It's like,
Yeah.
an example that I could think of is Madoka Magica. Madoka Magica, just the series alone, is really good. Like, well, I mean, it's one of the best anime of the 2010s, like hands down. But what really kept it alive is not only like the spinoff that's out there now, which is based off the mobile game. I mean, so there you go. It has a mobile game.
Magia record.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of merchandise. It's won awards. There's just so much that has kept that series alive outside of just the show itself. Did you have something, Sage?
Real quick, one thing I'll say that makes it, I hope I'm not stepping on anything you're about to say. One thing I feel like that makes Madoka Magica stand out is that there are certain anime that just become like the top shit in their genre.
Yeah.
And then that right there will make, so like Gurren Lagann or like Madoka Magica, like they become the top shit in a genre. And even if they are shorter and it has been a long time, people just, it becomes like the, hey, I want to watch another mecha series. What do I, and then everybody just says Gurren Lagann or Evangelion. Yeah. I want to watch a Magical Girl. Everybody says Madoka Magica. So like that kind of helps too.
Yeah, because it breaks the genre. What were you going to say, Will?
You just said it. I was going to say that's the thing that I think really kept Madoka Magica on top. Was that it took the magical girl thing and flipped it straight up on his head. Like, it was like, oh, it can be all cutesy, but just expect someone to die soon. So I'm just like...
Well, I use Madoka Magica as an example because there's so much outside of it. There's so much of it outside of just the series itself. And I think that that's important for a shorter anime is to have stuff that keeps it relevant because Madoka Magica also has the movies, you know, and like I said, has the mobile game, it has the spinoff now. There's so much out there that keeps the series in people's minds outside of just the original show itself. You all kind of hinted at this with the Toonami thing about Cowboy Bebop being shown repeatedly. I mean, Fooly Cooly is a perfect example of that. That show is only like, what, 6 episodes? And yet it's memorable because Adult Swim played the ever-living shit out of it. That's the only reason why we remember that show so vividly. I mean, the show is good, don't get me wrong. Well, depending on, you know, your interpretation of it is good or bad, whatever. But we remember it because we saw it all the time. Now, I will say, my only caveat with, you know, the short versus long thing is that I think it also depends on the genre because some genres do benefit more from being short than being long. Ones I could think of: comedy, romance, drama. Those genres really benefit from being shorter because when they get too long, it really drags out. Especially as like romance. I know a lot of like older romance anime. The big problem with it is that they drag out the romance aspect of it pretty much until like the last few episodes where the characters finally get together. And sure, you know, you get to see all the wacky antics and everything that happens in between, but ultimately, and the reason why I feel like romance anime now are much better than what they used to be is that a lot of times now the characters get together in the beginning and you get to see them actually have a relationship going throughout the show. A lot of romance anime are doing that now, and that's what makes it more entertaining, in my opinion. So like some examples that I have of like comedy anime that I think work really well as short ones are like, haven't you heard of Sakamoto? That anime is only 12 episodes. It is really funny, really, really good. I highly recommend that you all check it out. That anime works for its length. Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. That show, I wish it got another season, but it works for its length. For like romance shows, like, well, these are like romance drama, kind of like comedy. Yay.
Panty Pony Dash, 26 episodes if I'm not mistaken. Funny as hell.
Yeah. Angel Beats. Angel Beats is a very solid anime. Very solid. Like one of the first anime that I remember really, really, really liking in college. And it's just incredibly solid for its length. But yeah, there's so many more examples I could give, but I'm not gonna like go on. And another thing that short anime have that going for them is they can be easily revisited. I know we were kind of talking about this before the podcast, like, you know, the whole Kai thing, that it's easier to, like, we were talking about Dragon Ball Kai versus Z, and how it's very easy. It's much easier to revisit something like Kai than is Z, because Kai condenses Z down to like the parts that actually matter instead of like all the filler stuff that you don't really need to watch. So short anime, yes, they can have problems maintaining their relevance long term. In fact, real quick, Sage, were you still going to ask that question about what series we thought would be forgotten?
If you want to just do it, you can, because I kind of was going to skip that in favor of the question you asked before.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna say, like, one big example for me is Vivi Fluorite Eyes song. Like, that anime is fantastic. Like, for me, that's a 10 out of 10 anime. It's easily in my top 20 list. I feel like that anime, it had a lot going against it. Like, it didn't get nominated for anything at the Crunchyroll Awards, which people like to meme about the awards and, you know, the Grammys and the Oscars and everything, act like they don't matter. Those award shows actually do matter, because whether people want to recognize it or not, when certain movies and like shows and everything win at those awards, it gives it attention, and that attention allows people to, you know more about it, and they'll go out and actually look into it. Like, a lot of times when a movie wins movie of the year at the Oscars, more people go and see it because they want to know why it won movie of the year. So that kind of stuff matters, and the fact Vivi didn't get anything, you know, just further just cast a shadow on it, despite the quality, like the great music, the animation, just so many things that are great about it. People didn't really watch it, and so as a result, you know, in the next 5 years, I doubt people who haven't watched it at all are going to know anything about it. And so, like I said, there's good things about shorter anime, but yeah, there can be the pitfalls where, you know, because it only sticks around for so long, people forget about it with time. You know, it just is what it is.
Rakeem, do you feel like there? Because actually, hold on, real quick. I do think that, like, the one thing that can save a show is being like just the top of a genre. Like, that, just anything that's short, if it's at the top of its genre, it might be all right. Like, you'll never see, like, they're never gonna forget anything like FLC. Like, I mean, like, with minor exceptions, but like Vivi is one of those shows where it's like, what genre is that?
Sci-fi.
Is it action?
Yeah.
Sci-fi. Okay, sci-fi.
Yeah.
I feel like sci-fi is such a broad genre. Like, in like fiction in general, sci-fi is a very specific genre. In anime, I feel like sci-fi, like, that's not how we look at genres in anime. Like, it's not a bad choice, but like, that's just not, we tend to look at it as like seinen, shonen, shoujo, josei, mecha, isekai. Like, that's how we look at it. And
the big
so
problem,
I feel like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the biggest problem that Vivi had when it came out was people thought it was like a pop idol anime. Like, that's the comment that I've seen the most regarding Vivi, because of the poster, and it kind of had like a musical classification, because I mean, like, in the little description, it says like an idol does stuff just like say the future or whatever. People thought that, oh, well, this is just an idol anime, I can easily ignore it. And so I think that was unfortunately also something that, you know, went against it. So yeah, you are right, is that maybe the fact that it was sci-fi, and sci-fi isn't as popular in like anime right now, that kind of goes against it as well. So
all right, Keem, it's on you, man. Do you feel like a shorter series has it tougher standing out over longer periods? I feel like you kind of answered it, but if you want to, like, go ahead and take it a little step further, feel free.
Yeah, you guys covered a lot of stuff. I really liked all of your answers. I guess I'll go at a different angle. I think one thing with being a short anime, I'm gonna take something that you always told me, Sage, is like, in a season, animes can be oversaturated. And you mentioned the genre thing. The first thing that came to my mind was isekais. Like, every season now, we're gonna get at least 4 or 5 isekais consistently. Minimal. So, like, even if I like a show, and this is where I piggyback off of what you always say, hey, this isekai is cool. Is it even gonna get a second season? Should I invest in it? Should I care about it? And then that's a parallel effect of that. This is cool, but I'm not super invested in it. It was like a one watch. I'm not going back to it. As a parallel to that, we watch one show and you just forget about it, you don't end up really recommending that show to anybody, or you don't go into the merchandising like you said, and you don't go online and just fight to the death. Like, anime fans fight to the death by the animes they freaking love. They won't let them go. They will not let them go, to the point where it's like, you can get to the point where you get annoyed of it. Like JoJo fans online, when the popular JoJo really blew up like a few years ago, and they were every comment section of any media. Didn't matter if it was anime,
Is that a JoJo reference?
wrestling, politics. They didn't care. They were out there. Is that a JoJo reference? They fuck with that show. They fuck with that series. So as a result, its popularity grew, and people are like, what the heck are they talking about? People look that stuff up. So like when I think about isekai right now, and I talked to one of my coworkers about this because he's an isekai fan, and when we mentioned isekais to each other, we liked. Like I mentioned, I think I mentioned to him Tsukimichi, and he really liked it. Like really liked it. He was a fan of it. But there are so many like anime in the seasons now where like they have the isekai formula. I brought up in the last podcast how I was over it with Black Summoner. Like Black Summoner was like, okay, I'm tired of these isekai formulas over and over again. That could be some of the pitfalls of a shorter anime. If you have short animes and multiple short animes in a season that don't get second seasons, or like you think they're not going to get second seasons and they follow similar formats instead of being unique, what can help a short anime is if it has a unique concept. Like I know Death Note doesn't really fall in with the 25-26 episode rule, but it's pretty short comparatively.
Yeah.
It had a unique concept. Like that was different from anything else I had watched at that point. Like, what is this? This is different. That helped that show stand out. You think about that show, like that concept, there's nothing else really like it. People have like the Death Notes. I remember there's a guy I watch on YouTube, a comedian. He literally carries the Death Note in his sketches and writes people's names down in it, like as a reference. Israel Adesanya, a UFC fighter, in his match came out and wrote his opponent's name in the Death Note and then beat him. It's like an iconic moment. You can find it on YouTube. He like wrote his opponent's name in the air, like he scribbled his name in the Death Note, and he's like, "What was you writing in there?" I put his name in the Death Note. That's how big of a like iconic moment that was for Death Note.
Imagine getting clocked by a fucking weeb. Like imagine like you did all this time, all this training, put all this effort in, and some fucking weeb came down there talking about I wrote his name in a Death Note and knocked your ass clean out.
Hey, I'll say this: like this new
you
generation of athletes that I've seen, there's a lot
They
of
wear it on
anime
their
references.
sleeve.
The Olympics,
wear it.
were
Yes,
full of anime references. So hey, this new generation built different. They're gonna whoop your ass
They wear it
and
on
be
their sleeve
knowledgeable
now.
of anime.
Yeah, it's a dude that's in the NFL right now. I forgot his name. I think his name is Jamal Williams. He's on the Detroit Lions. If he's ever at training camp, he said, if you ever want to get my attention, have something anime related. We're gonna talk about it. You're gonna probably get a piece of my gear, and I'm gonna let you go. We friends now. You brought me posters and mangas. I got you.
I wish he was on a better team than the Lions if he that
You
good.
really don't, really.
Even comparing like the NBA this year, I think they had like one of the teams. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was a football team actually. Had an anime intro for their season starter.
Yeah.
Which
The
team was that?
Chargers.
Mhm.
Oh, Chargers.
Chargers last year.
And they referenced a whole bunch of anime, like direct reference. They didn't just have like an anime intro. They referenced anime in the intro. And there were like some people in the comments like, what is this? And I was like, nah, bruh, you got to accept it. Times have changed. And I love it every minute of it. Oh my God. Now all these people who hated anime back in the day, they got to eat crow. They just got to take it. It's in theaters. It's on your TV screens, on ESPN. It's in UFC. You got to take it now. Take it. Anime ain't going nowhere. And I'm gonna keep watching. Hallelujah. Anyway, back to what I was talking about.
That's the highlight clip right there.
Fuck yeah, it is.
But yeah, I'll talk about that. Like that's the type of impact a short anime needs to make. Like it needs to leave an impression on the viewers. It cannot fall into the trap of like following the trends of where anime is headed. Whether it's isekai, maybe 5 years from now, maybe it's a slice of life thing picks back up. Who knows? Vampires pick up, mecha picks up. If you do that, you got to have a unique concept. Like short animes, the ones that stand out need to have a unique concept that helps them stand out and be memorable. That's how they kind of avoid those pitfalls. And like Sage said, how they avoid that is by being like the pillar of their genre. Also, like I still think about Gurren Lagann. I've never watched all of Gurren Lagann, but it's been recommended to me so much. I've at least watched a couple episodes just off recommendation alone because it has that strong of a fan base. People love it. So yeah, that was some of my points on that.
In the case of Death Note, that's the top psychological series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alongside Monster. Monster would definitely be like
That's one that I wanted to bring up in
Monster's
terms
good.
of like long anime. Like that one is a very, very, very solid choice, and it's a damn shame that they don't have the license in
really
America
good.
to like distribute that, like
I need
Crunchyroll,
that.
or
They
like
playing.
the streaming rights. I mean, yeah.
They don't have the streaming rights, but
Ew.
you know, you happen to be on YouTube and just take a look. You might watch the entire series for free. But
Yeah.
no, they didn't get that from me though.
Yeah.
You didn't get that from me though.
Hey, but I mean, like, yeah, and Monster again might be one of those. Like I've said this before with like Yu Yu Hakusho, where I'm like Yu Yu Hakusho kind of the goat because like nobody talks like that motherfucker stopped showing. They stopped showing it on Cartoon Network. It just went away, and yet it still transcends generations. Like it's so beloved that people continue to talk about it. Like there aren't that many anime like that. Monster is like that. Like people,
Yeah.
even right now, you see people talk from multiple generations talk about how good of a show Monster is. I've never seen it, but like you hear people talk about it all the time. What's good, Will?
It's real good.
Speaking on the whole Yu Yu Hakusho thing and how it's kind of transcended generations, you want to know how I kind of figured out it was kind of transcended generations at one point? Because I never thought about it for like the longest time until like I went on TikTok and I seen one and someone mentioned it. Is because we keeping that up here apparently.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a lot of us. It's a lot of people with our skin tone that just really like Yusuke, and I mean, like, look at him, like, listen to him.
I mean, Yusuke from the streets, man. Yeah.
Yusuke is from the streets. He's just some kid from the streets that like to fight and talk shit.
Hey, I'm gonna give a shout out to the YouTuber Cloudy McDoom, who does like the Final Fantasy skits. He keep up that cool bar cosplay. He mess with cool bar, bro. He been keeping that up a lot lately too.
Now there was one other question. Well, there were two, but I'm gonna throw one out because we kind of like went over it a little bit. I will say that it was like shorter series you feel that was excellent that kind of went forgotten, and we're not gonna do too much with that one. I will say there's one show that I really loved called Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens, when part of it is that long ass.
That's wait. Never mind. Go ahead. Go. I feel like that's the anime that I was thinking of when you were talking about like short anime that would be forgotten, and I feel like 2 years ago, I want to say, did this anime come out 2 years ago? The one that you're talking about?
No,
it didn't come out during the pandemic era. If that's what you want.
No, it didn't.
Well, maybe more than 2 years, I'm thinking. But anyway, there was an anime that
2018.
Okay, I think it's the same anime. I think we actually had this conversation a few years ago where we talked about this anime is really good, but do we think it's going to be remembered like 2-3 years from now? I remember you and I talking about this.
Very good memory, Terrence, because that is exactly what caused us to have this topic.
Yeah.
Like Tonkotsu Ramens is the exact anime because I watched it, and at the time I used to do like anime reviews, and I was like, man, this show's really great, and I really like it because it's about this kid who gets mistakenly assigned to be like assassinated, and he's in a city of nothing but assassins, and like all the characters are interesting. There's this there's so many, like if you want to see something that's unlike any other anime series in terms of like assassinations and how they handle like the way the characters are written, and there are a lot of queer characters, and it's just really unlike a lot of shows, but like I watched it and I loved it, and I still love it. It's still in my top, I want to say 25. It's in my top 25 anime of all time. But like as I was reviewing it, it hit me. Nobody's gonna talk about this series in 2 years, and it's been 5 years.
Here we are.
Like, here we are in 2022, 4 years removed from when the anime first came out. And if you ask most anime fans, they'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" And that's unfortunate. And that's just like kind of how it goes. Like a show, if it's not the top in its genre, or if it doesn't have an easily ascribed genre that like the anime universe is just accepted, like I said. Psychological, slice of life, comedy, seinen, shonen, shoujo, like that type shit. If you don't have like those are the genres. Like there are other genres in anime, fantasy, sci-fi, like the classic genres that horror. Well, horror is like a genre everywhere, but like those other genres, like they find their ways into other mediums. But in anime, like you really gotta look for it. Like most of the time, people think about anime in terms of like the more broad genres. Like it almost has its own set of genres. And if you're not at the top of those, people just kind of, But the question I wanted to ask, and this is the last one, is are there any shows that you feel like were disappointing because they were short. Like they should have been longer. If they
okay.
had been longer, you'd been like, yeah, this show's, it's fire. And so like Rakeem had the most enthusiastic response. So what's up, Rakeem?
So one that was disappointing because it was short. I think before we started this podcast, someone else mentioned it, but I got to mention it because I really, really like this anime.
No, go
Dead
for
Man
it.
Wonderland.
Yeah.
Man, Dead Man Wonderland was so cool. At least at the start of it, had such a cool premise. Basically, if you haven't watched it, it's like a kid. His classroom gets assassinated by this supernatural kind of person. Everyone ends up dead. He gets accused for it, and then he ends up going into this prison. But in the prison, it's kind of like a circus performance type thing where they play death games in front of people for entertainment, and there's a whole different like power system and thing behind the scenes, and he has to kind of meander through this prison while interacting with other characters and trying to escape and all that. And it was such a cool concept. I really liked it, but it was not only short, it ended so weird. Like the finale, instead of being like a proper kind of season ending finale, was like a side story of another, not even the main character, like a background story. And it just went nowhere. It never got a second season. It never came back. And like just that was really disappointing for me because I've been waiting on that anime to get a second season forever. And it doesn't like this that's ever happening. I could have read the manga, but sometimes you read the manga, sometimes you don't.
Will, do you feel like there's an anime that you like? It's disappointingly short, like because it was cut short, it's not as good as it could have been.
I'm trying to actually look down my list now because I was trying to find one, but go to Terrence. I'll be right with you.
Terrence, you were the one that said Dead Man Wonderland, and then when I said, "Oh, I'm gonna actually ask this question during," because like you came up with this question,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck, that's a great question. I want to include this in the podcast." So like, you said you wanted a better question. I mean, a better answer. So like, what did you come up with?
So it's not that this anime is bad because of its length. It's one of those anime that really should just gotten a second season, or it should just, well, I guess ultimately just should have been longer. Death Parade. Death Parade was really, really good. It had, and the thing is, there's so many, well, not so many, but there's quite a few loose ends in like the last couple episodes that you just really wish were tied together in some kind of way, but they just leave it hanging. And I doubt, I mean, there's series now that are starting to come back like 10 years later, but I highly doubt Death Parade is ever going to come back. But Death Parade was disappointing, not because it was bad, but it was so good. And there are just things that there's so much more that could have happened at the end. I mean, the way that it ends, it's fine. I mean, you kind of just have to deal with it at this point, but there's just so much more that I feel like that could have been done. It could have been even better or even greater than what it is what I'm ultimately getting at. So that's an anime that I would say is disappointing because there's more that could have been added to it to make it even better of an anime. And I think that had it been longer, I think that could have stood on the shoulders of like giants where they're like, it would have been like a damn good series. It still is a good series. It's just that I think it could have been much better.
Yeah, it could have been longer.
Yeah.
I gotta finish that first season because I enjoy what I watched Death Parade as well.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, King. Go ahead and hop on that, bro. I tell everybody, if you hadn't watched it, please do.
Death Parade is really good. I highly recommend it.
It was good when I watched it. It was really good.
Will, do you have an answer or do you need me to go?
You know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you right now. I don't necessarily have something off the top of my head that I just think like it should have been a little bit longer. It could explain something, but well, something just passed my eyes, and Terrence mentioned the show earlier. I love these shows. I love Jun Maeda works, but I'll be damned if I didn't think that Angel Beats could have definitely sustained a couple extra episodes somewhere along the line.
I totally agree. They kind of rushed that ending a little bit. Had they had more episodes, they could have. I agree.
Yeah, like if there were more episodes to kind of give us more details as to how that ending would have went, I'd have been fine. But it's like when they got to the end, it was like, oh, we're just gonna go ahead and go to this. It still fucking hurt. I ain't gonna lie, but it needed more because there was other students that kind of needed a little bit fleshing out. I feel so like Angel Beats is not bad. It's just some characters didn't get a little bit more love. They didn't get no more explanation. In particular, TK. I definitely needed more on him than anything. because he spoke in like musical like references, and like he would like reference Michael Jackson and all types of old 80s and 90s like music things, and he would dance all the time too and say I love you and all that stuff. I'm just like, bro, explain him to me, please do. I need to know about him. So Angel Beats definitely needed it more than anything.
You know what's funny? Did you ever watch Charlotte?
That's the one show I actually started watching recently.
Okay.
I'm gonna get into it.
I don't know if they're written by the same people or not. I'm not sure, but Charlotte kind of has a similar problem where it feels like it could have been longer. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still watch it. It's good. Still watch it, but I'm just saying it kind of suffers that too.
I've been told, so I'm gonna try to finish it up too. Yeah. So I can tell you about it later.
So for me, this is an anime that's not bad. It's not disappointing. I love it. It's actually in my top 25, but it's hard to recommend to a lot of people. It's the show that I think I've talked to all of y'all about it at one point. Record of Grancrest War.
Yeah,
like from the creator.
You talked to us about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's from the creator of Record of Lodoss War and Rune Soldier Louis, which is less well known, but still pretty good. It's a show that's basically Fire Emblem if it were an anime. Like literally they have class changes. Like you get to a certain amount of power and you have to class up to like keep fighting, to like keep leveling up and shit. And like the goal is you grow from like the main character. He has to grow from like being a knight to being a lord. And he does it by like fighting these chaos enemies and absorbing their chaos energy and shit like that. And if he fights and defeats another like somebody else with like the crest, because like everybody that matters has their own like crest that's represented by all the chaos power they have. And like as you beat is like if you fight one and beat them, you get to have their crest. Or if you take over their country, you get to have their crest, and your crest becomes bigger. You become more powerful. The goal is to like collect all of the chaos and create one big crest. Well, to create one big crest to wipe out the chaos in the land. And so like it's a great fantasy anime, but it would have been so much better if it had been twice as long, really. Like it's like 26 episodes, and it was like they kind of rushed to the finish. They skip over a lot of things. There are characters that should have been developed more, and it sounds really bad when I say it like that, but like when you watch it, you'll see like, okay, there's a lot going for it that's positive. The fight scenes are great. The animation's great. There's a romance in it that actually behaves like a proper romance instead of this will they, won't they bullshit. It's just a really solid show. But like there are certain parts where you're like, wow, this one episode could have been an arc unto itself. And so like if it had been a 48 episode of anime or a 52 episode anime instead of being like 26, it kind of like rushed to the finish. And I'm like, man, there's so much, y'all left a lot of meat on the bone, so to speak, narratively. Like y'all just kind of rushed your way through it. And that's the big flaw of the show where I'm like, all right, man, like, damn, I wish I hadn't done that. Rakeem and then Will. What's up?
So yeah, just reminding myself, like Lotus and Grancrest, they're part of a long running RPG series, like as well, right?
Yeah. Well, now like an RPG, like kind of like D&D RPG. So like the universe, I think it's called Sword World or whatever. Like that's how he creates his own. The guy was like a huge D&D fan. He also helped work on this really, really shitty anime I think called Chaos Dragon. I think that's him.
I just remember that being like a Record of Lotus Road, like strategy RPG back in like 2090, something like that.
I think that was for like Dreamcast or whatever. What's up, Will?
He was actually gonna touch on what I was gonna say because I went and looked it up. I was like, I feel like I know that name, so let me just make sure I look at it and make sure I'm right. And I was right. It's actually a tabletop RPG, is what I seen for Grancrest War, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked up. Apparently, there's actually a video game for it on the PS4, but it never made it stateside. It's a tactical RPG, and I think there's also a hack and slash. Plus, there's also a Record of Lotus War game out with Deedlit, and it's kind of like Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Right. I don't know why it was like that.
I was like, I would have been very upset about that Grancrest War game, but then I saw it. And I was like, wow, this is ugly as a bitch. And I mean, like, I normally let a lot of shit go, but like I looked at it, the colors was off, and like I was like, oh man, this shit ugly as a motherfucker. Like, y'all can have this. Like, you just cut this shit off. So like I'm not that mad that it's stuck in Japan. But I mean, like, I would have been mad if it had been like even as good as the Fairy Tail RPG that they made, which is just kind of a basic RPG. I was like, I still want this, but like it looked fucking terrible. So I was like, all right, well, oh well. Sometimes you win some, you lose some.
So,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah. I looked at the dev. The dev done quite a bit so far. They've done like the Caligula Effect, Grand Crest War. They did a Sword Art Online game. They did some Kuroko games and other stuff like that.
Now you
out
got me
there.
remotely angry because I'm like, damn, this shit should have been. It should have been better than what it was. But
Should've
I
been
mean,
bigger. Yeah.
sometimes it's like that, bro. But all right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor and hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter and TikTok. I need you to tell your friends about us. And I need you to do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.